Alright, we are back. It's been a while, I've been quite busy lately, but now I've returned to you to give you the rundown of the coolest things I checked out in the past months. First of all, before we get started, I feel like there is something that I have to address. If you've been following the anime and manga sphere lately, then I'm sure you've heard the news of Kentaro Miura's passing on the 6th of May, to the shock of the entire community. The legendary mangaka behind Berserk died at only 54 years old due to a heart problem. I don't really think I need to tell anyone here just how important Miura has been to the manga industry, not only with the insane critical and commercial success of the series, but also with how incredibly influential Berserk has been for dark fantasy all across the world. Gutter's journey, which has now been going on for more than 30 years, has meant a lot to so many people. Even for me, it was one of the first manga I ever read, and to know that it's probably never gonna be finished, it's heartbreaking, really. And even if they do decide to continue the series with someone else in charge, it's still sad that this man who gave more than half his life to this one series never got to see it to its conclusion. If we were to see something good in this situation, it's that I've seen a lot of people online use this as an opportunity to spotlight the importance of artists' health in the manga industry. It's no secret that it's a pretty cutthroat business, and artists often work absolutely insane hours. So let's just all keep in mind that these people are human, and no matter how talented they are, there's a limit to how much they can handle. Also, I don't ever want to come off as preachy in these videos. I understand that everyone's circumstances are different, but if you want to show your support for a manga artist, then the best way to do that is to, buy their manga. If you have an artist that you like and you have some money to spare, then it really goes a long way to create a more stable industry. With that being said, this month I want to take some extra time to recommend some manga I've read lately, just to encourage you to try them out. Astra, Lost in Space is a 5-volume sci-fi shonen jump manga released between 2016 and 2017, and it tells the story of 9 teenagers that are, lost in space. After a class trip to a deserted island goes very wrong, they are forced to make a several-week-long journey home with minimal resources. And if that wasn't enough, it turns out there might be an imposter among the... there's a traitor in their midst, and they realize that them being left to die like this might not have been a coincidence. As they visit new planets, the crew has to gather resources and do various tasks, while always knowing that one of them might try to kill them and sabotage the... For fuck's sake. Joking aside though, this was honestly a really amazing series. It was recommended to me after I did the video about short manga series, and I thought I had a pretty good idea what it was gonna be about after seeing the premise. But this manga really keeps things interesting by constantly throwing in new details that gets us closer to seeing the entire picture, which by the end is really different to what I initially thought it would be. The characters are all really memorable and likable, and they all get their time in the spotlight. If you haven't already read this, then you can do so on the Shonen Jump app or through Viz's physical 5-volume release. Next up is I Had That Same Dream Again, a 3-volume manga series based on a novel by Yoru Sumino, the same author who wrote I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. This one tells the story of a young girl in elementary school called Nanoka. She's a very bright and confident girl, which has in some ways led to her being somewhat ostracized by her classmates. The story follows Nanoka as she is given the school assignment of what does happiness mean to you, and how she tries to find this answer with the help from some friends she makes around the area, like a chatty prostitute living alone in a small apartment, an old woman in the cottage in the woods, and a high school student who wants to be a novelist. From this simple premise, Sumino makes a really compelling story that, again, ends up going places I really wasn't expecting. It being such a short series, it's hard to say much more without spoiling anything, but if you've read or watched the movie for I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, then you know that this author knows how to make a short, satisfying story. It's available through Yen Press as a single omnibus release. The last two manga that I talked about are both really well-crafted stories that say everything that I want to say and leave the reader really satisfied. The last one is not bad. It's Tsutomu Niei's Abara. That isn't to say that Abara isn't well crafted, it most certainly is. Nihei is a one-of-a-kind mangaka, and with Abara only being 2 volumes long, you end up getting a very compressed version of his stories, both the good and the bad. Abara is a fairly simple story, presenting you with an interesting world which is about to end. I would say that the short length of the story does leave me feeling that I didn't get as much out of the world as I would have wanted, but it does conclude rather nicely, though it's not an adventure I will really remember in the same way as Blam, for example. However, the reason that I will still wholeheartedly recommend this is because of the art. I've gushed about Niei's artwork in the past, so I hope I'm not repeating myself too much, but the level of detail this man puts into every panel is just breathtaking. Both the landscape and the frightening creatures that he draws are so jaw-droppingly overwhelming, it's hard to find something like it anywhere else. If you don't like Niei's other works, then you probably won't find anything here to win you over. But it's absolutely worth the short read if you're already interested. It's available as a hardcover 2-in-1 from Viz Media. Alright, that's 3 in the box. I'm feeling quite good. In fact, I feel... Okay, look. I'm not very familiar with superhero comics. I've watched a few Marvel movies, I read Watchmen, and that's about it. So when I was watching Amazon's Invincible, any reference to the medium that went deeper than, oh look, it's like the Justice League. That's like Superman if Superman was a fucking dickhead. Probably went over my head. Even so, I quite liked Invincible, as did the rest of the internet. I'd be surprised if you managed to avoid it, with all the memes and people talking about it all the time. It's really fun, and it's the type of comic book content I would like to see more studios try to adapt, as I imagine there are quite a few of these interesting little pieces out there. I ended up binging the entire thing in pretty much a single sitting, so take it from me. A guy who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, Invincible is pretty cool. I'm a sucker for good dialogue, the kind that effortlessly drags you along, making just the simplest conversations feel like a wild ride, a meticulously crafted dance between the two parties. Now, those are some pretty pretentious analogies now that I say them out loud, but I do feel they describe the writing of Adios quite well. Adios is a game made by the new indie studio Mischief, and tells the short story of a pig farmer who's been working for the mafia helping them get rid of bodies, having now decided that he wants to get out. And by simply taking you through a single day in this man's life, showing you his routines, his relationships, what he says, and even what he chooses not to say, you get such an amazingly clear picture of exactly who this man is and what his life has been. Now, you might have noticed from the video I've shown that this game isn't very pretty. In fact, I'd say it's quite ugly. Also, some people may say that there isn't much of a game here, it mostly consists of you walking around, choosing dialogue options and interacting with the environment in small ways. but I don't really think this takes away from anything I've said before, namely that this game is a masterpiece when it comes to writing mundane, yet weirdly intense and hard-hitting dialogue, and I really hope that people can look past these small issues and give it a chance. And finally, I'll do something a little bit out of the ordinary for me, as I want to talk about Bo Burnham's new Netflix special that released last week, Inside. On the off chance that you don't know, Bo Burnham is a comedian famous for his work in musical comedy. Through both his YouTube videos and comedy specials, he gained a massive following before he retired from performing after his last special, Make Happy, in 2016 due to mental health reasons. And now, 5 years later, he is back. Inside is very different from anything he has done before, whereas his previous specials were very much stage shows made to be performed as a coherent stand-up routine. Inside is staged more like a weird documentary-style movie, chronicling Bo as he stays locked up in his room working during the pandemic. It still features some of his characteristic musical performances, and they're as clever and poignant as ever, but he has also included scenes of him just working or rambling about his thoughts, letting the camera linger, making the whole thing weird and often even uncomfortable to watch. And the final product is a jumbled amalgamation of everything that has been on his mind for the past year. Both silly and a haunting reflection on escapism, fame, anxiety, and the ugly side of self-actualization. It's frankly a masterpiece, and I highly encourage anyone who's interested to check it out.
There it is again, that funny feeling, that funny feeling.
And that's it for this month. I've been thinking of changing these to be every other month from here on, thereby giving me more time to work on other videos while also giving me more things to choose from when putting these out. Anyway, hopefully I'll be able to upload more regularly from now on, as I have a lot more time on my hands now. So I hope you look forward to that. Anyway, thank you for watching this to the end. This has been Avant-Garde, and I'll see you next time.
Over soon, just wait. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da.